Let's rev those engines and burn those tires because it's time for Top End Talk with Nitro Allie.
Thank you, Bob Beck, for that introduction, and welcome everybody to Top End Talk with Nitro Allie. I am your host, Nitro Allie, and I am so excited for our special guest today, four-time champion Matt Hagan, pilot of a NHRA funny car. Sorry, totally just tripped over that one. How you
No,
doing
you're
today?
fine. Yeah, no, you're good.
Awesome.
You ought to see what they make us do all the time, and Tony Stewart Racing and HRA Funny Car, like name all the sponsors and stuff. The good thing I can basically look back and read my car most of the time, you know what I mean? So I'd be tripping over stuff left and right. I still do. Everybody kind of is like they'll go up on top end interview and they'll be like, why are you out of breath? You know what I mean? And you only had a 4 second run, and it's people don't understand the G forces that we see and the adrenaline and everything else. So and then trying to calm all that down and put it into what I guess would translate well on TV sometimes is always tough.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, again, I'm super excited that you took the time. I know you've been really busy, a lot of things going on. So thank you for taking the time to be with us today. And then just if you don't mind, I know that you have been around cars your entire life, but it was really kind of in your teenage years that you kind of got that first taste of adrenaline that racing provides. Do you mind just kind of sharing that little story with everybody?
Yeah. I mean, really, my dad and my family has been car dealers forever. I guess they had a 50-year anniversary last year, and it's just cool. So I've been around like you know. I guess kind of like Corvettes and all the Dodge stuff and different things like that, but never really like muscle cars and stuff. And I had a guy at our service shop that was kind of like a second dad to me, and he had a 69 Dart, and it was a gear jammer class that he was in, and he was like, hey, come on out to the drag strip and air up my tires and wipe down the car and stuff. I was 13 years old and really had no idea about any of that kind of stuff, and it's so got out there and just absolutely fell in love with it, and it was just kind of one of those things where we were able to just kind of get involved, and he made me a part of it, and I just I was all about it, so just kind of one of those things where I actually own the car now. He had a stroke and has unfortunately laid in a hospital bed for about 4 years, and with our medical community, they kind of bled his family dry of the money, you know what I mean? And so I bought his car from his wife, and it's real sentimental to me because he got me into drag racing. But it was one of those things where I just had no idea, and I got to see that car stand up on its bumper, and he's jamming gears, and second gear you're looking at blue sky, and it's just such a cool car. It's a 69 Dart, and it's got a like I think a 570 all aluminum or 550 all aluminum motor in it, and just one of those things where when I'm done with my drag racing career, it's something I'll probably take out and beat around on the weekends. And I don't. It's got a 3-speed Liberty in it right now, and so it's just kind of cool. But it got me started, and I started, airing his stuff up and going to the drag races and just kind of fell in love on a local level and had a four-wheeler and started bracket racing a four-wheeler. And I won a little bit of money when I was 13, and I was like, man, I can do this, So,
Mhm.
yeah, just one thing led to another, and just absolutely fell in love with the sport of drag racing.
And that's all that it seems to take. And that's kind of been the big pitch lately with a lot of people, unfortunately, with the track closures is bring people to the track, bring kids to the track, get them started at a young age, because it just takes one instance, for them to fall in love with racing, any type of racing for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is, local tracks. I mean, I think that's the thing is like they see that they can do it, right? Like that's,
Mhm.
you go to a national event and you go, man, you hear the fuel cars run, and, it takes a pile of money to do that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like going to a pro baseball game, you're like, oh man, how do you get there to the majors, and it's a lot, more involved and a lot bigger process to do that. But you go to a local strip and, you can bring your car you drove there with and, dial it in and foot brake it. And, it doesn't matter how fast the car is or how slow the car is. It just, you can race it. You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that's what a lot of these young kids have no idea about is that whatever you showed up to the drag strip with to get you there, you can race that, and win money doing it and be competitive, So, it's really getting your car to run the same numbers all the time and being able to drive the finish line and different things like that. So, Yeah, I think this younger generation is just getting them to the strip and just knowing that, hey, I can take mom or dad's car that got me here and go drag racing with it. So I think that's kind of been missing out. I think sometimes you just look at the big picture and you see these national events and you're going like, well, I can never do that. Well, I
Right.
didn't think that either, and I started off on a four wheeler.
Right. Well, and I got to applaud the NHRA because a few years back, they started their Junior Street program, which essentially you just need a helmet and you bring mom's minivan or the station wagon, whatever it is, and you can
Yeah,
race and just you can start right there. So there's really not a huge investment that people have to put forth to start racing, you know. So,
absolutely.
so I think that's a great program. And the other thing I want to just kind of highlight, you may or may not remember, but about 10 years ago, roughly, you made a surprise appearance in Bandamere for the Western Conference Finals for the juniors.
Juniors, yeah, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure
And
enough,
that,
yeah,
that always, from that point, you were kind of coming into the picture at that point. I had so much respect for you because I saw
yeah.
these kids looking up to you and go, I want to be him. And you
Oh, that's
took
cool.
time out of your day, and to come support these kids and mentor them at this major, event. So, I just got to tell you thank you, on behalf
Oh,
of
yeah.
the
Well,
juniors for
and if
doing
we
that.
can change one kid's direction or one kid's life, it's and put a smile on their face and stuff, and just get them involved in the sport in any way, shape, or form. I mean, it's unbelievable. Just my little run at this deal for the last 20 years, how many lives we've been able to touch and people that we've been able to change their day or get them involved in the sport. And I'm just an old redneck farmer here that like to go fast. So. Just to see like the outreach and like it's kind of look at it like a tree and all the branches that spread out, and how many different folks that you get to engage with and touch and be a part of their lives as well. And then like I'm sponsoring Maddie Graves, this year coming up with her diesel dragster and different things, and I've sponsored some juniors as well, and just being able to help some of that, along the way, and encourage some of these younger kids to get out there and not race on the street and be a part of the, controlled sanctioned body of what we do out here to race, but to do it the right way and the safe way.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I know that you're really good at, and I'd kind of like you to touch on, especially lately, there's been a lot of talk about kids, and behavior at the track, and everyone's guilty of it. You lose a race, you throw the helmet, there's a lot of pressure involved with these kids. But, how would you recommend help, guiding them to control some of those negative behaviors and also, just reminding them that they're being watched and
Hmm.
sometimes there are certain gestures that are out there that these kids are given to each other with sponsors right there or as they're representing sponsors. How does that affect their ability to obtain and retain sponsors not only now but in the future if they decide to go through the ranks?
Yeah, it's something that I've dealt with. I think even like Tony Stewart, my boss, he deals with it a lot, and none of us really lose well, right? We all win well, and it's one of those things where I think if you don't want to become a great loser either. You know what I mean? But
Right.
you have to be respectful and understand that when you do lose, that there's certain things that you need to do as far as being respectful and giving a good interview and shaking the other opponent's hand and wishing them the best and different things. But I think I had some learning to do as well with that kind of stuff. I mean, one of my first races I ever lost, I chucked a helmet, and my pops come over and he's like, "Hey, look, if I ever catch you doing that again," he said, "I'll never support anything you do." He said, you're just not going to act that way, and as you're a representative of the brand and what we do and our family, and it really hit home, because it's just I'm very passionate about what I do, but I think you also have to figure out how to channel that into something that's a positive emotion that you learn from and you grow from. And I think even on a higher level, when my second year I was racing John Force, and I was still learning to drive a fuel car, and I was actually battling out for a championship. I won the championship the next year, but my second year in a fuel car, I lost the championship. I ran it up to John, and I just had to show up and go 2 rounds. Get out of first round and go the second round. And I lost first round. We backsided a piston. Nothing that I did on my end, but we're a team, and we win as a team, lose as a team. And I just was so disappointed and disgusted with our performance that they came over and they wanted to do an interview, and I was just like, get the camera out of my face. You know what I mean? And it was just very emotional for me. And even though John still had to go out and win the race, John kind of does what John does. I mean, he's a 16-time world champ for a reason. So you knew that there was a possibility that he could pull this off and he could still win the championship. And of course, I had to watch it round by round, and he had to win the race, and he went out there and won the race. And but looking back, people still to this day they're just going like, oh, that kid pouted, or he's spoiled, or this or that, and they just have no idea. I think sometimes the emotion that goes into it, that your entire life's wrapped up into this, and you're so invested and you're so involved. But I grew a lot as a person. I grew a lot as a man that day, and it changed the way I do things a lot of times now. When you do lose, I've run it up several times for championships. I've won 4 championships, but I've also been there to where it didn't go my way. And I think that you have to learn and you have to grow from those situations. And I grew a lot that day. My second year driving a fuel car, and that feeling, that disgusted feeling, also made me work really hard the next year. And I came back and I won the championship. And 2 of the 4 championships I've won, I've run it up the year before. And I think that's something that you kind of, that feeling just doesn't go away during the off season. And you work hard and you dig deep and you do what you need to do, and your guys do the same to try to put you back in that situation to where you can capitalize on that win. And it's dealing with pressure. A lot of people don't deal with pressure well. And let's see, did somebody's trying to call? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's all
Um,
right.
did it kick me off? Okay.
No, you're good.
Sorry. But anyway, I just, you have to learn and grow from those situations. And I think, for me, it was a huge lesson in life and as a man and the way I handle things, you know, that came, in a massive negative way for me, so, I took a lot of criticism over it, but I think, you have to, as a young man, you have to learn and grow from those things. So I've done that, and I feel like these kids, sometimes you have to go through that as well. But it's how you react to those situations and bounce back, and what you do afterwards to And for me, it was just dig deeper and work harder and come back and win those the next year.
Now, did you ever get any pushback or any negative feedback from any of your sponsors about, when you were going through that time?
No, not really. I think most people they took it as like just being very passionate, and I think that, but those sponsors that I was with, I had a lot of, I developed a real relationship with. There's a lot of sponsors out here that I think that are stickers and smiles, and they don't really have um, the relationship with their driver, or this or that, or the driver hasn't taken the time to make the relationship with the sponsor. So I think my sponsors knew me really well as a person. They
Mhm.
knew like my intentions and how passionate I was about it. It wasn't to be disrespectful to them or anything like that. It was just me not being able to control my emotions, and really going out here and learning from that, and controlling them the next time. I think I tell everybody, even my guys on my team, that there's no such thing as a mistake the first time. It's a lesson, that you learn from. The second time is when it's a mistake. If you don't learn from that lesson that's been put in front of you, then it is a mistake after that, because you have to have that first opportunity to grow and to make choices, and to go from there. So it's just, for me, it's kind of like, I always tell my guys, if you did it on purpose, then I'm mad. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
Right.
if we had something happen and you did that on purpose, then I'm mad, but I think a lot of times you have to have those situations put in front of you to grow. And if you make that same mistake the second time, then it truly is a mistake, and you're in the wrong, and you need to reevaluate what you're doing, and the direction you're going in.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a little bit ago that there's a lot of pressure, especially in the ranks that you're in, but even, with some of the younger generation, they're getting a lot of pressure, from family, from friends, from whoever. How do you cope and, with that pressure, and how do you decompress?
Yeah, pressure is something I don't think anyone does really well with. I've seen guys puking in trash cans, when they're going up here to try to, win a championship, and cope with that overwhelming feeling and sensation of like, what do I got to do to make this happen? And I think the best advice I ever got was just let it come to you. Like, there's a lot of people that go up there trying to make something happen, that, I got to cut a certain light, or I got to do this with the race car, or the car's got to run this way to win this deal. And a lot of times that still has to happen, but when you go up there trying to make something happen too much, sometimes you push it away from yourself. And I think that you have to trust in your ability and your people and all the things that have gotten you there, and let it come to you. When it's meant to happen, it's going to happen, and you just believe in what you're doing. But sometimes you go up there trying to make something happen too much, and you force a red light out, or you do something stupid, or drive it out of the groove, or you're not paying attention to this and you neglect that. So something that's really helped me a lot is I've worked with some sports psychologists along the way. I've obviously paid a lot of money to do that, unfortunately, but there's some great books out there called Mind Gym. Gary, I guess it's Gary Mack is his name that wrote the book. It's a quick, easy read. It just works on the mental side of things. Like everybody goes to the gym, they eat well, they work out, you do all that stuff, but there's very few people that work on their mental side of things. And I think that, you look at any athlete that plays any type of college or pro ball or anything like that, they're all very gifted athletes, right? But what separates someone that's great and someone that's just there is their mental game, right? And being able to deal with pressure, being able to turn pressure into something that's positive. But that book, Mind Gym, it actually helped me win my first championship. And obviously working with, some sports psychologists and different things like that. There was one time where one of the guys had me out there, and he made me play pretend catch in front of all my peers out there in the staging lanes. And I was like, dude, I don't want to do this. Like, don't make me throw a fake ball to you. You know what I mean? He was like, look, man, you put yourself in uncomfortable situations to grow. It's no different than getting on a high ropes course with you're scared of heights, right? Like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to walk a wire and be on a telephone pole and do all this stuff. But that's the only way you grow. You put yourself in situations to where you're not comfortable, or you're not mentally, sound, or different things. And then you make yourself adapt and change and grow. And then just how you get through things. So putting myself in situations where it's high pressure, high risk, a lot of that kind of stuff makes you become a better driver, makes you become more mentally aware of what you got to do and how the things that you have to do to get through those situations and turn them into positive to rise to that occasion. I think a lot of times, people are put in situations and they go, oh man, if I mess this up, what am I going to do? Like everybody's going to, it's going to come down on me. And I look at a situation, now it's like, this is my moment. Like, this is what I've worked all year towards. This is the ball has been handed to me, and it's my opportunity to go up here and cut a great light and keep it in the groove. And so it's like how you perceive things and how you process those things. And for me, I look at it as like, this is what I've worked for all year. This is I want to be in this situation. I want to be able to perform for my team. Give me the ball. Let me do what I need to do here. So I think a lot of it's mindset, and being able to take those situations instead of going like, oh no, I don't want to mess up. It's, oh no, this is my chance to really show what I'm capable of here and what I worked so hard to do. So that's just kind of how I look at a lot of that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, in order to be successful in racing or any career, you got to have a strong, support base at home, your friends, your family. Go ahead and tell everyone a little bit about your family and how they support you.
Yeah, my kids are great. I got 4 kids, and my oldest, he's 18, and he's already like, hey, what about being a race car driver? And I'm like,
Mhm.
hey, how about being a dentist or something like that? You know what I mean? And so obviously, what we do out here is very volatile. It's year to year, even though we sign multi-year contracts. My I would, it's just tough. I mean, sponsorship's always tough. It's always, economy based and sales driven and different things like that. And a lot of people don't understand, like, it's the B2B stuff, behind the scenes, the business to business, being able to put two partners together and keep that going. And then being gone so much, I'm gone 30 some weeks out of the year. I think it's like 34 weeks this year I was gone out of 52, which, we raced 20 of them, and then you have sponsorship gigs and different things like that. So you have to have a very supportive family to be able to do what we do, and be gone as much as we're gone. It's unbelievable. I tell everybody I'm like a gypsy. I live out of a bag and on a plane, and so to have that support system and be at home and to be able to come back home and, all the things that need to be taken care of and stuff or done, you have your kids helping do that stuff. And it's just, it's unbelievable how much it takes. It takes a small village to do what we do, and to be able to have that, my family is great, but I don't know that I'd ever push them in the direction of being a race car driver, just because it's so. I want them to be doctors and lawyers and
Yeah.
teachers and all the other stuff. But if it moves in that direction to where they're able to do some of that stuff, I'm definitely supportive of whatever they want to do. I don't think I'm raising any D1 athletes, so maybe race car drivers are, are where it's at. I don't know.
So they have expressed interest in following in your footsteps then?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my oldest definitely wants to. It's just, finding what people don't understand, to drive a fuel car. It's $4 million startup as far as, buying the parts and pieces, and then it's another $4 million to run the team. So,
Right.
to really to say go and hit the start button, you're looking at $8 to $10 million with
Yeah.
infrastructure and startup costs. So, it's not just rounding up the money to run the car. It's all the stuff involved. So, just rounding up 10 million bucks is not exactly the easiest thing to do, just
Mhm.
because your kid wants to go drive a race car, but
Right.
like, that's why I've owned a team before. Back when I was
Mhm.
19 years old, I had a fuel funny car team and a pro mod team that I owned, and realized real quickly how it's going to be better to spend someone else's money than my own, so that's definitely why I've been a hired driver for so long, and with Don Schumacher and now with Tony Stewart. They're great individuals that have done really well for themselves, and just, obviously I'm very blessed to be able to drive their race cars and do what we do out there. But I've had great sponsors along the way. I think Dodge has been with me almost 18 years now, and
Wow.
a lot of ups and downs and highs and lows, and 4 championships and 53 or 52 wins. I'm not sure how many I've got now, but just a lot of opportunity to be with them and to grow a relationship and be a part of the brand and be a brand ambassador for all those companies have been great. And I've got some really good sponsors now with American Rebel Beer, and those guys, Andy Ross, and Jason Johnson with Johnson Horsepower Garage. Those guys I just get along with, right? And it's also with the Dodge guys, we just have a great relationship, and that's something that it's not just so cookie cutter and corporate. I've just really, like, we go hang out on the weekends and we just, just budge, you know what I mean? So it's
Right.
just kind of, being able to have that is just, has been great here the last couple of years of being able to have some sponsors that are just, they're more than just sponsors. You would consider your friends.
Right. You guys just seem to be cut from the same cloth, so to speak, where you just, have the same
Yeah.
mentality on everything. Now, you said you have 4 kids, and, as parents, we've learned some hard lessons along the way just in life, and we always wanna save our kids from having to learn those same lessons with the same hardship. As a father, what is the greatest lesson that you can, teach your children going, "Hey, don't make this mistake?"
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times, you can tell them all the stuff that you don't want them to do. It's like my son; he just totaled his truck the other day, and you're
Oh,
just,
shoot.
yeah, yeah. So very, very lucky that he's still here with us. He went over a 50-foot bank, and there was a big sycamore 2 feet to the right, and it'd be a different situation, But you can sit there and tell him, don't go fast, and don't do this, and it just sometimes you just, as a kid, you have to learn those life lessons, and I've learned so many along the way with me growing up. I'm 42
Yeah,
years old, and I'm still learning them every week, and
right,
but you want to protect your kids from everything, but sometimes they have to learn the hard way. It's just like, hey bud, you just totaled your car, you're lucky to be here, and it's just it's one of those things. You look at the pictures of the truck and stuff, and this bank that he went over and all the trees he hit and stuff like that, and you're going like, I told you, but like, I told you so, it doesn't go that far. It's
right,
just, it's one of those things where now he's like, oh man, this can happen to me, and I'm very blessed to be here, and he understands, how serious that was, and so sometimes I think that you can try to save your kids from all these things and tell them all this stuff, but sometimes they have to go through those hard lessons in life, and God gives you a couple passes in life. I told him, I said, you better take this one and learn from it, and if you don't, you're going to end up dead real quick. I mean, it's kind of, my pops always told me, he said, if you're going to be stupid, you better be tough. You know what I mean? So, kind of one of those old sayings that rings true, and, but yeah, I mean, there's the biggest thing for me is just, I think with my children, I just really want them to focus on themselves and build themselves, and life kind of happens around you. You have to, just have a good base and a good family and a good, religion is big for us, and
yes,
being able to, just understand that, that you're here for a reason, and you have a purpose,
Mhm.
and and finding what your purpose is. I think when people find their purpose in life, their life becomes a lot more complete, and they have reasons to go out here and help others and do, and the biggest thing for me is just, I've been so blessed, and just finding ways to help others, I mean, and I think that when you do that, there's nothing that is more rewarding in life. I've won championships and races and money, and have cool stuff all over the place and
Right.
cool cars and things. But when you truly know that you've helped someone and you've bettered their life, there's nothing that's more rewarding. So I think with my children, it's just trying to figure out how to instill that in them, and those values of being a good person, and no matter what you have or don't have, you can always help someone along the way.
Right. And, and I got to say, I have firsthand experience of that. And I've seen your kindness and generosity as are a huge supporter of law enforcement, definitely our military. You're definitely, I'll just say, an American. And, and just from the bottom of my heart, again, thank you for helping my department, when
Absolutely.
we needed that help and that family
Yeah.
needed some help. So, now, I watched an interview that you did recently with Buddy Hull. And
Oh
to
yeah.
me, yeah, he's a good guy, and you touched on something that was, quite profound in my opinion that a lot of people don't talk about. And that was body image, and, you
Yeah.
start, talking about diet. And then would you mind sharing with people a little bit about what you've been through as it relates to body image?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, playing ball, coming up through is always bigger, faster, stronger, and everything in my life, I've always been like, hey, get bigger, get faster, get
Mhm.
stronger, and I'm a 260-pound guy, I'm 6'1", and it's one of those things where I'm just a big boy, you know what I mean, and my genetics, my family, my uncle, he's 6'4",
Oh, wow.
270, and my grandfather was the same way, he's 6'5", two, I think he was like 280, just big people, and
Yeah.
so trying to stuff me into a little race car, I mean, it's tough, and we're going to deal with that. We have some new rules coming out with seat pad and head pad and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to get any shorter anytime soon. I know
Mhm.
that. And, so you really, everybody, my guys, especially, every year, it's like, hey, lose 20 pounds. Hey, do this, do that, and it's just tough. I mean, it
Right.
comes to a point in your life where you're just like, hey guys, this is what it is. And this is me. And, I've done the whole, Tupperware thing and chicken rice and broccoli, and you're just miserable, and
Right.
if I guess I'm to that point in my life to where there's certain sacrifices that I think you need to make, to be, good at your sport and good at your profession. But it also comes a point in time in your life where you're going like, hey, I'm 42 years old, man. I
Right.
want to eat a steak and potatoes, you know what I mean? And just kind of enjoy yourself. So there's a fine balancing act, I think, sometimes that these kids nowadays, they could get so caught up in, being a certain weight or being a certain
Right.
size or doing certain things. I mean, these poor girls that see, all this stuff on Instagram, and they body imaging, and I got to look a certain way, or they become bulimic or just anorexic or
Right.
different things. I mean, it's sad, I mean, and I've found myself in those situations as a male in a sport that's driven by guys that are 5 foot tall and 150 pounds, and I'm 6'1" and 270. I'm like 285, 290 with my gear on, and so
Right.
you go like, what do I got to do to be, I'll never be that small, but you get that, I mean, just unrelentless, hey guys, can you drop 15 pounds, hey, can you, be lighter, be better, get on the treadmill more and run this and do that. So it becomes exhausting mentally, I think, sometimes to try to do that stuff and put yourself through those situations. But I guess that's kind of today's world, that's not just me dealing with it. There's a lot of other people and athletes in different sports that do that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. But I think there comes a point in time where you say, hey, look, this is realistic. This is what I can do. If you're not happy with that, then you need to go find another driver. You know what I mean? Like, it's just sometimes, I've proven everything that I need to prove in the sport.
Right.
I've done everything and accomplished everything I want to. And it's not a, hey, like, take it or leave it. It's a, hey, this is what I'm capable of, and this is what you got. You can either work with it or you can't,
Right.
and so I do feel, tough. I feel, I guess, sad for some of these kids, and especially young girls nowadays that come up and really have to deal with that. Hey, I got to look a certain way, or I got to be a
Mhm.
certain weight, or this is, you see all these things on Instagram, and I have two young daughters, and I'm just
Yeah.
going like, stop. This is not realistic. You know what I mean? You don't have to look this way or do that. This is just this is stuff that people see end results on things, and they don't know what it took to get there, and the stuff that people have to go through to make themselves look that way. And it's not always healthy mentally.
Right. Well, I mean, have you had to deal with some of that? I guess it's almost like mental torture, where, oh gosh, I'm not fitting in the
The
box
mold.
that they want. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I
Yeah,
mean, have you had
it's
to
kind
deal
of
with
funny
that?
because my crew chiefs, they always are like, well, if you were 20 pounds lighter, we'd be able to win this race or do that, but I've won 4 championships and set, I don't know
Mhm.
how many world records. And maybe I get away with it in a fuel car in a funny car because I sit over top of the rear end. And when if I was in a dragster, that weight would try to bow up in the middle versus
Right.
being over top of the wheels. But, end result is, there's 4 guys. It's me, John Force, I guess Kenny Bernstein and the Snake that have won 4 championships in a funny car, and I've done it with 2 different crew chiefs. So I don't know that weight matters that much. I know we've spent a lot of money on titanium and all that kind of stuff, but
Right.
I've never had a crew chief go like, man, we're out of power. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like it's always about application of power and how do we apply it to the racetrack without it smoking the tires and different things like that. So I guess I'm lucky in a sense that we're if I was in a pro stock car, maybe it would be a whole different situation. But in a fuel car, we get away with it because we do make so much power. But it's still always an issue, because I'm a big guy and everybody goes like, well, how do you fit in there and what do you do, But
Mhm.
we make it work, and I've been one of the most successful drivers in fuel funny car history, I guess. Me and 3 other guys, So just very blessed to have a good group around me and that's supportive. And even though I'm a big guy, we go out there and get it done.
Well, and I think it's good that you've kind of I don't think you intended to, but you've kind of drawn some awareness to that, hey, it's not necessarily young ladies that are going through this. I mean, it's young men, it's more mature men as well, that, hey, it happens in all different, lines of work, just in life in general. And you know what? This is who I am. Take it or leave it. Bye. And obviously you're a pretty accomplished driver. You're doing just fine. That,
Yeah.
a couple extra pounds here or there really isn't going to be an issue at all. So, but you do talk about, just diet and exercise a little bit. What do you do? What do you eat? I mean, what is your exercise routine? And are you able to maintain that not only at home, but when you're traveling?
Yeah, it's one of those things where obviously I eat a lot of protein, and I try to keep my carbs low and stuff. I mean, I got a 6 pack, but you wouldn't think it, you know what I mean? Because I'm just such a big dude. But it's still very challenging a lot of times just because I'm getting older. You know what I mean? I'm 42 years old, and I used to could jump on a treadmill and drop 10 pounds, in a couple weeks, and it just don't work like that no more. You know what I mean? And I think the biggest thing for me is just when you're on the road, it's so easy. My poor guys all the time that work on our car, they get out of the racetrack at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And the only thing that's there is, Whataburger or, White Castle or whatever, so you,
Right.
you feel for those guys a lot of times. And our team does a pretty good job with hospitality food, leaving it over for them guys to eat, and they're at least getting a decent meal in the evenings and stuff like that. But it's challenging being on the road. I mean, you're flying here, you're doing that, you're trying to make right choices on what to eat, and it's so easy to pick the wrong options and just grab something quick that's not really healthy for you. So over my 20 years of being on the road, it's definitely challenging making the right decisions, but it's also expensive. I mean, it's expensive
Yeah.
to eat good, and so I'm blessed that I make good money and able to eat some good food, But there's a lot of
Mhm.
these guys that are out here on the road that are crew guys. They don't have that opportunity, and it's a lot cheaper and easier to grab a quick Big Mac or whatever, But at the end of the day, they look unhealthy, and it makes them struggle at their job. And those poor guys, they work so hard. They come in early and leave late, and they'll sweat their t-shirts out. They'll be white at the end of the day, and you're going like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. I mean, it's working over a wood stove basically, and the 30-minute turns that they make in between rounds is just it's incredible, to watch these guys work. So we do a lot with like First Form. They send our guys like meal stuff and like beef jerky sticks and
Mhm.
protein shakes and stuff like that. So First Form has been real supportive of trying to keep our guys in shape and healthy and stuff like that. So it's out there. It's just finding the right people to link up with and be a part of it. But yeah, it's definitely tough and challenging on the road to try to stay healthy and fit. So but for me, it's just really trying to make those, better decisions instead of grabbing a burger, trying to grab a piece of chicken or
Yeah.
steak or something like that on the road.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about food a little bit then. You own a ranch. Can you tell us a
Hmm.
little bit about your ranch?
Yeah, yeah. So I got about 3,400 acres at home, and we keep about 1,800, anywhere from 16 to 1,800 head. We keep about 700 mama cows, and the rest are cattle that we, in out. Basically we call them in out cattle. So we'll buy them and feed them, and then sell them and different things like that. But we finish out a lot of cattle for my Hagan Cattle Company, which is, we distribute meat and sell meat across the country. We try to keep it more East Coast just because the shipping gets so crazy on the West Coast, and but we still have plenty of people that buy from the West Coast, so it's crazy. They'll spend $80 in shipping just to support what we do. And it's pretty cool to see that. But you hate to see them spend that much money just to ship some beef over that way. But what's really nice is that, it's start to finish on our farm. And, you know that it has no hormones and no antibiotics. And, you can pretty much come to the farm and pick out what, your steer that you want to put in the freezer, and there's not a lot of places that you can do that. And, and a lot of people love to support local, and that's what they're doing. And we're just still super small. I got two gals that box up all the meat, and they ship the stuff out. And we got a CBD company as well, and so it's kind of one of those things where it's super small scale, but it's you feel like you're helping people along the way with the CBD, and then also with the meat company and different things like that. And so it's just kind of one of those kind of warm and fuzzy. I'm not getting rich to it, but it's like you enjoy doing it because people know what they're getting, and they appreciate it, and you feel like you're doing a solid for the folks that are buying the stuff.
Well, and that's the other thing. I've been reading a lot about this. I mean, there's multiple different terms out there, like engineered, cultured, lab grown meat. You
Hmm.
can call it a million, different things, whatever. But to me, I call it fake meat. And
Yeah.
I was kind of researching it a little bit, and Google calls they paint this beautiful picture of it they said it reduces environmental impact of meat production, it addresses animal welfare issues, has improved food security, and it's the solution to ethical issues surrounding livestock. So, what exactly is it, and what are they not telling us about?
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just, kind of one of those things we're worried about cow farts, you know what I mean? Like the methane released from cow farts, but I don't know. I don't think it's even measurable, really, to be honest
Yeah,
with you, that when we really break it down. I mean, you hear Elon Musk talk about it, and he's like, what a joke,
right.
but honestly, they're printing this meat in a 3D printer, nowadays, and they're growing it in a lab, off of cells, in this kind of container that, I don't know. It just doesn't seem natural, and I think that they're actually outlawing it in several states and different countries and different things like that. So I think, unfortunately, with the American food industry in America, we're kind of always last to the game here. But maybe now with um, the changes coming up here after this
Mhm.
election, it's going to be a lot different. So hopefully Kennedy, he takes that direction and understands that this is not healthy for people. This is not something that's going to be safe. And it's just, I mean, I don't know. It's just got a weird feel to it anyway. I mean, I've just always been a steak and potato kind of guy,
Yeah.
and I just can't imagine eating lab grown meat, and even this stuff that's, impossible meat, all this,
Mhm.
beans and rice and stuff that's just not really real meat that you want to call it, whatever. But I don't know. It's just got a weird feel to it, and it just doesn't seem natural. But I get it. There's people that don't like the thought of killing animals, and that's fine, but it's
Mhm.
just one of those things where it's kind of been the way of the world forever. And it's just one of those things where it doesn't just magically show up on your plate. You know what I mean? There has to be a process to do that. And I think what is nice is that, people don't realize when you go out here and buy, a steak from the grocery store, it's changed hands almost 5 times before it ever hit your plate. So with us, it's grown on our farm, and then it goes to a processor and then right to you. So it's not changed hands so many times, and you don't have different people having opportunities to put hormones or antibiotics or different chemicals in your food
Mhm.
to do that. It comes straight from us. So I think that's where really people really want to kind of focus on, is like, if it doesn't change hands as many times, and it doesn't have the
Mhm.
hormones, it doesn't have the chemicals, it doesn't have the antibiotics in it, because people got to understand what, you know out here everything's driven by money, right? And the faster you can put weight on cattle, the faster you're going to make money. The less you have them, the less opportunity they have to get sick or to die, different things like that. And we use antibiotics. I mean, but we pull those cattle out that have been given antibiotics, and we sell them at the stockyard, and that's what you're getting at McDonald's, and that's what you're getting at the grocery store and stuff like that. You're not getting that premium, cuts and different things that have not had those antibiotics. I mean, we don't allow animals to die. We'll treat them with antibiotics, but those
Right.
get culled out and they're sold at the yard. So that, I think there has to be an understanding there that we're not just letting things, just suffer and die because of that, but we're also, not allowing it into what we sell at Hagan Cattle Company beef either, that kind of thing too. So there's a massive, I guess, kind of learning process when it comes to this food and Cargill and these big four packers. I mean, they push so much through these different processors, and they have control so much of kind of what happens in the price that these farmers get for their cattle and different things like that. So we're looking at opening up our own packing plant, here to kind of help support a lot of the local stuff and different things like that. I mean, it's going to be several millions of dollars to do it, but there's some grants out there and some different things that might really open up the door for me to do something like that, and make it make sense over the long term, and it's not, like I said, not to get rich. It's just, something that's needed over here. And that's, we're looking at our local community and how it would help, and, be able to benefit, us and the community, so, it just kind of one of those things, you put it to paper and see what happens and kind of go from there. But, no different than the CBD thing, invested $5 million into it, and we're still trying to get our money back. But, we're helping people along the way. I get emails every week of like, hey, this helped with, I'm going through chemotherapy and I don't want to be on THC because I can't function because of the psychoactive side of it. And,
Mhm.
the CBD helps me get through it. Or, restless leg syndrome, like the CBD helps with that stuff, and anti-inflammatory and arthritis and, joint pain and back pain and, just on and on and on. All these folks, they email and they go like, oh my gosh, your stuff really works. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, CBD companies, it's the wild, wild west. There's no regulation out there, so you could go to the gas station and buy this stuff, but are you really getting the CBD in it? And you could just be full of coconut oil, because there's no real
Yeah.
regulation. So at least with my stuff, with my name, I have to stand behind it, and I have to be able to do it. And we've invested $5 million into it along the way, years ago. And so we have a processing facility, and we've grown all of our stuff. And it's always just everything we do is start to finish, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So, it is cool to see people go like, well, I've tried this other CBD stuff and it didn't work, and your stuff works. And it's like, well, it's because it's got CBD in it, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's
That
the
kind of
legit
stuff. So
stuff is what you're saying.
yeah. So to get those emails and you get the feedback from people that give you a warm and fuzzy, it's pretty cool, And like I said, it's just I started it because I lost my brother to opioid addiction.
Okay.
Within 3 years he passed. He actually had scoliosis, and they told him, they said, look, bud, you're going to be in a wheelchair the rest of your life, or you're going to have this surgery.
Mhm.
And basically he chose the surgery. They put 9 pounds of titanium in his back. It looked like a zipper from the tip of his ears all the way down to the crack of his butt. And they put 9 pounds of titanium in there, but he got with a pain management doctor down here in Roanoke, and she was giving him this crazy dose of Oxycontins. And within 3 years, what happened was he was sitting around and got pneumonia in his lungs from just
Mm.
being on Oxycontins. Well, that on top of the oxys, he went to sleep and just drowned in his own lungs, And so,
Right.
unfortunately, this lady, she'd done that to 3 other patients. So she served like 6 years in prison, lost her license and different things for overprescribing oxys.
Right.
And my brother was just a unfortunate result of that. But that's why I started the CBD company. I said, hey, maybe we can help people without such an addictive, drug that's involved in pain management and stuff like that. And so
Right.
the CBD side of things, I was like, hey, we lost him to oxys, and I watched that whole deal go down in 3 years. He looked, just being super addicted to this deal and not being able to have control over it
Mhm.
because doctor patient, confidentiality, and we couldn't control what he was getting and different things like
Right.
that. But the CBD stuff, I was like, hey, maybe this is a different direction where we can help people without something that's super addictive.
Right. No, and I think that's really important that you kind of touched on that. And I didn't mean to open up such a personal subject for you.
No, no, it's
But at the same time, I've experienced that in the sense that, my daughter had some pretty significant surgery about 2 years ago, very invasive. and that's what they were giving her. It was the
Yeah.
and oxycodone, and she used it for a little bit, and then she ran out, and she was still in pain, but she was just, I mean, in my line of work, we see that all the time where it's just these are good people that are becoming
Yeah.
addicted, and it's not through any, just
Through doctors.
yeah, and they're over
And then when
prescribing.
they
There's
can't
so much
get it
money
from
in
the
it.
doctor, they go out and get heroin. You know what I mean? And then the heroin's got fentanyl in it, and then next thing you know, you're dead.
Right. So she switched to getting the CBD. I was a little nervous about it just because I didn't know enough about it. But again, none of the addictive stuff. And it gave her the pain relief that she needed.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, it was safe.
Yeah, and it's not,
So
I wouldn't say CBD is a cure all be all, but I mean, if it helps someone get through the night or if it helps someone get through their day and, they don't have to be on an opioid or something that's super
right,
addictive, then it's a win. You know what I mean? So, it's kind of one of those things where I've seen the negative side effects of the opioids and how fast it puts hooks in you and how hard it is to try to get off of. And,
right,
and just not having control over some of that with some of these doctors and stuff out here. I think it's come a long ways, and a lot of these doctors are not prescribing it as often as they used to. There was a massive push for the pharmaceutical company to push these drugs out here and to get these
mhm,
people addicted. I mean, it all comes back down to money again, like we talked about. But in the result, it was, he lost his life because of it, and it's something that if you can keep people from doing some of that to that extreme, then it's definitely a win in the win column.
absolutely, absolutely. And you do all of this on your ranch. I mean, you have the beef side of things, and then
Yeah,
the
we sure
CBD
do.
as well.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you something. I mean, and maybe this is wrong information, but are we losing ranches in the United States?
Yeah, yeah.
If
Unfortunately, I mean, it's massive amounts of farmland that we're losing every year, and massive amounts of farms. I mean, I think it's several thousands every month that we're losing as far as small farms go. It's just unbelievable, to be honest with you. And but like anything, there's this big push of go big or go home kind of thing. Like you have to be massive, conglomerate and raising cattle, no different than the dairy industry. I mean, there's no small dairies anymore. It's just these
Mhm,
massive dairies out there that, they milk 24 hours a day. And there was been two small dairies that shut down, down the road from me. And I can't even tell you where the next closest one is anymore, and they used to be
right,
everywhere. So that's kind of pushes the same way. And there's the Chinese that are buying up farmland. And you got Bill Gates buying up all this
mhm,
farmland. You got just certain conglomerates that are just pushing these small farms out. And I'm not sure what to really think about it or how to even go about it. I know that we're going to be doing this till the day I'm not physically able to anymore. But to see just the overhead and the fertilizer and the diesel fuel and all the stuff that it takes to run these farms, I can definitely, when you put a pencil to it, you go like, man, I can understand why there's a lot of these farms that can't make it. And
right,
I'm just very fortunate that a lot of times my racing would subsidize some of my farming side of things, and we were able to keep that going. But if I was just farming, there've been years where I would have probably had to pack up shop, you know what I mean, and shut down the farm. But being a race car driver and being able to subsidize some of that farming stuff with the race car stuff has allowed me to keep going. And the farm's making money now, but
right,
there's been years where it hasn't. I mean, a couple years ago, when all this stuff went crazy, with COVID and everything
right.
else. I mean, my fertilizer bill went from $100,000 to over $250,000 in one year
Oh,
of time. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
as a small farm, you go like, how do you do that? And you can't
right,
just not put it out there. It takes fertilizer and different things to grow. So it's not something that you can just change in one year's time and say, okay, well, we're going to cut that out. Well, no, your corn don't grow or your grass don't grow. You can't take from the
right.
ground and not put back. So, and that's just one instance, and just
Mhm,
with fertilizer. So you're talking about plastic and diesel fuel and farm equipment and tractors and I mean, so massive overhead. When it comes into millions of dollars worth of equipment, that just you have to do that stuff. So yeah, our local farms are going away faster than they'll ever be able to kind of be reestablished. So and for me, you look at these younger generations, how would you go out here, unless it's handed down, with the land that it costs to farm and the equipment that it takes. I mean, there's not a young kid that's going to go out here and get a $5 million loan to be able to start up
mhm.
a farm. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So as we lose these small farms, I don't know that they'll ever be replaced again.
Well, let me just ask you a question, and maybe it's like way off the charts and speculation, but you said, yes, we are losing these farms, so if we're losing the farms, we're losing the cattle, we're losing all of that. So kind of going back to this fake meat, as I call it,
Mhm.
um, is that the government's way to kind of replace or
Well, we're just importing a lot of beef, we're
okay.
importing a lot of chicken and dairy and different things. It's just people don't realize. I mean, we import so much meat. Like even though it says it's USDA beef, it's because they can repackage it and put a once it's here, they can put it in a different package and put a USDA stamp on it and say it's American beef, and it's not. Coming from Australia, New Zealand, Switzerland, different things like that. So we import a lot of beef from Mexico, and now they have a screw worm in Mexico, and they're shutting down imports from there, and so the beef
Mhm.
market's going to go crazy here. It's going to get extremely expensive for our consumers and different things like that, just because of that screw worm that they found in Mexico. So yeah, unfortunately, people don't realize that even though they think that the beef is got a USA label on it, it's not USA beef, it's not USDA processed, and so by them with the laws, they're able to import it, repackage it here, and call it, American beef, and it's just
Yeah.
not.
Wow. And they don't have to disclose that, or do they?
No, no, they don't. I mean, it's just kind of, us as farmers know it, and it's kind of a loophole in the law that allows them to do that. But hopefully, with Trump, I mean, they're going to start tariffing a lot of this stuff that's imported,
Mhm.
and hopefully, we demand more for our American beef, and we can, as farmers, get paid to keep running the farm.
Right.
But also, you don't want to see the consumer have to pay a lot more for. So it's a fine line, that you walk with. Hey, you don't want to charge too much, but you got to charge enough to stay in business, and but
Right.
there's also like, what are you really getting from these other countries? Like, what are you putting into your body? So, do you want to pay more for something that's better quality that
Mhm.
So I think that's why when a lot of these people they can afford to buy local, they do.
Right. So really the best bet is just to find a local rancher and buy directly from them. I mean, and if you think about it, there's a lot of benefits to that. Like you said, what you're putting in your body. How that, steer was raised and what it's being fed. And
Yeah,
by also doing that, you are supporting the farmer, you're supporting the staff there on the ranch and their
yeah,
families, and
you're
all that
supporting
money
the
goes
U.S.
back into the
economy.
local
Yeah,
government or
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and into our economy. Yeah,
The economy,
absolutely.
exactly, exactly. So now where, let's plug it. Where can people find your products and how can they order?
Yeah, just everything that I have is online. We had some brick and mortar stuff that we kind of shut down just because of the overhead and rent and everything else. But
Yeah.
you go to HaganCattleCo.com, check out the website. There's beef packages on there, different things like that, and then to TrueHarvest.com, and that's my CBD website. But yeah, and I think there's some links on my Instagram. It's Matt Hagan _FC. So if you go up in the bio, you can click on my links in the bio, and it'll pull you down to our CBD and our beef company as well.
Awesome. Well, I got to tell you, I got to admit that I ordered some stuff about a week ago and my post office kind of redirected stuff. I was so excited because I had the pink shirt ready to
Oh yeah,
go.
ready to
So, and
go.
it says it'll be here tomorrow because of the holiday. I'm like, oh man, because I
Oh,
got the
that's all
jerky
good. We
coming.
appreciate the support though.
Oh, of course. Well, yeah, and it's one of those things that I always tell people, you support people that support you. End of story. It
Absolutely.
comes full circle. You've supported me on a lot of things, even your time being here today. So it's the bare
Oh, we
minimum that I
appreciate
can
you.
absolutely do and kind of get the name out there. And again, I love jerky. That's perfect for me when I'm traveling. When I get busy at
Yeah.
work, I can throw it in my bag. I don't have to
Well,
worry
we
about
got
it going
some
bad.
more different kind of like the jerky that we got out there is a little dry right now, but I got a new batch coming out that's a little bit more chewy. I'm more of a chewy guy. Like I
I am
don't know,
too. Yeah.
like yeah. So like a lot of people, some of them like they want jerky to be real, like you gotta like work at it. You know what I mean? But I'm
Mhm.
just kind of like I like it soft and moist, and that
Yeah.
kind of. So we got some more different type coming out. So if you don't like the little bit harder, drier, we got some different stuff coming out too. So but it's always evolving. And that's what's
Mhm.
cool. Is like I always ask people for feedback, and some people are like they're telling me they want a little thicker steak and some different
Mhm.
things like that. So always open to constructive criticism. And oh, my phone fell down here. Open to constructive
Yeah.
criticism, and just try to make our product better. So if anybody has some ideas of how we can do it better, we're all ears.
The only thing I'll say is tank tops. Allie wears
Tank
tank
tops.
tops.
All right, we'll work on that. We'll get that
Tank
going.
tops. I like the pink though. You're doing good with the pink. So
All right,
now,
good
now
deal.
always we got to, you know the drill. You got to thank all your sponsors and everybody that helps make your racing career and everyone that's contributed to you. So go ahead. Let's.
Yeah, honestly, I want to thank our fans, the folks that are listening, because I mean, you can go on and look at my fire suit or my car, and they're on there. But honestly, the fans that are listening, tuning in, and the folks that support what we do is really the ones that need to be thanked. Because the folks that go out there and buy the Mobile One, or they buy the Dodge pickups or the Ram pickups and the Dodge cars and all that kind of stuff, those are the folks that really keep us out here, because we can't do it without our support of our fans. So I think our fans are really the ones that we need to thank the most, because they do go out here and they take that time to pick that bottle off the shelf, or that product that we are out there supporting and promoting. And so taking that extra time to say, hey man, that's one of Matt's sponsors, or that's one of John Force's sponsors, or that's one of whoever, go, with Coletta, with,
Right.
DHL, I'm going to ship through them because they do that, it's not just me, it's just everybody in the industry, and just taking the time to make sure that you do go out there and spend your money, and voice, hey, like, we love drag racing and we want to support these guys because they're drag racing. So thank you guys to all the folks that are listening that do that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Matt, for joining me today. I really appreciate it. You taking the time, so
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
great
Thank
getting
you.
some insight there. And thank
Yeah.
you all. Huh? What's that?
I said, yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And thank you all for tuning in today. Remember to go out and support your local drag strip, your local racetrack. Make sure you bring a friend, get them to, start enjoying the racing community, and let's keep racing alive. And all I got to say, and I'm proud to say it, God bless you. God bless America, our first responders, and our military. And I'll see you next time on the top end. Have a good night, everybody.